So my name is Erin Estrada. Welcome to my summit. I am a public relations major here at Biola University, and I am concentrating within events and entertainment. And why I chose that song, maybe some of you are familiar with it or unfamiliar with who Kanye West is, but I chose that song for the specific reason and the same reason that I chose my title. With going into events and entertainment, my passion is to work as a coordinator and VIP relations within Hollywood. My passion is celebrities. I think the trends that they influence, the trends that they put out there is so interesting. And through that, I wanted to explore kind of that complex that was in there. If any of us know who Kanye West is, he's a very enigmatic personality, more cocky than confident, I think I could say, confidently. And through that, I think he holds this kind of God complex of, in interviews, proclaiming himself as a God, whether that is as a deity figure or even within the music industry. And what that kind of looks like as a young public relations Christian professional going into the industry, dealing with celebrities that are larger than life and having this kind of complex within that. So I want to invite you to come with me when looking at this God complex within Hollywood and what that means to be a mediator within mainstream media. A little introduction of how I got here. I am an Arizona native. I came out here to finish my college education, thought I was going to be a communications major, realized I didn't want to talk all the time, I rather wanted a creative aspect to it. Biola requires us to have a few internships before we graduate. Through that, I landed an amazing internship through LA Travel Magazine. While LA Travel Magazine isn't your typical magazine, it is a luxury travel magazine, which is unheard of within California. And through that, we push ourselves through the influence of celebrities. So here are some celebrities that I actually personally got to work with. The probably most famous one that we're familiar with is Adrienne Bailey Houghton, who is mainly known for her TV personality within The Real, which was actually on this morning. Same as Olivia Culpo, who was Miss Universe, and Whitney Carson, who was on Dancing with the Stars. And within this, I not only did a lot of the usual PR things, such as press releases, media releases, so on and so forth, but I actually personally got to work with these people. And through that, I got to see the good, bad, and ugly of Hollywood, of what it looks like when they don't meet contract needs and when they don't put that out there for us, and how that can kind of be an interesting complex of how do I, as a professional, deal with that. Within the kind of politics of Hollywood, that was a difficult thing for me to come into, with figuring out how I'm supposed to relate my faith in every aspect of my field, which I will touch on a little bit later. But to kind of segue into where I'm going, I wanted to look at the new age that we're kind of going into of Hollywood, which is a renaissance and revival, which is a term actually Huffington Post, I'm pretty sure, yes, coined, which when I think of Renaissance, I think of the paintings. And the one thing that really caught my mind's eye was the painting of the creation between God and Adam, touching hands, two completely contrasting figures coinciding. And with that, I think we see the same thing within Hollywood, that if we've been watching social media lately, if we've been watching trends lately within the past year, there are underlying tones of Christianity coming out through the music that I just played of Kanye West, who couldn't be more secular, talking about praying for peace. I'm hoping to live my faith well. These different underlying tones that we can see with celebrities going to mega churches, Kourtney Kardashian, Justin Bieber, the Jenner sisters. This contrast that I think makes us as Christians a little uncomfortable of how are we supposed to deal with this. And if you'll just come with me to kind of looking as an example of, we see, like I had mentioned, Kanye West in the music, Chance the Rapper actually does this really, really well with putting Old Testament imagery within his music. Below that, we see one of the big mega churches, Zoe Church, going into that Instagram sector and going into the fashion industry with showing shoes, with showing and promoting their brands. And my personal favorite, Jerry Lorenzo, who is an up-and-coming designer, who his brand, Fear of God, was actually inspired by his own fear of God as a Christian. That he recently, I think within the last summer, brought the fashion industry, brought Hollywood into the church by setting up his pop-up shop off Melrose in the heart of Hollywood as a 70s inspired church. Pews, I don't know if you can see it that well, but there are pews here. At the front of it was a podium just like this, and in large letters it said House of God. So we see these really interesting trends coming. But also, we see that Christianity is seeping its way into mainstream media, not only through these celebrities, but through the channels of social media, that we're able to see these things not only as people who may be close to these celebrities, but as people who are just normal people. And I think that's a really interesting thing that us as Christians, as young professionals, get to be a part of. Not only that, but they're using these trends, they're using their influence to open the conversation for Christianity, which I personally, being a young professional going into the entertainment industry as a Christian, could not be more happy for. Since that was something that I really struggled with, of how to coincide my faith with my field, which I'll touch on a little bit later. Just kind of to segue into that influencing relationship, being within Hollywood, I think we're all very familiar with the mega churches. Right here, is Chad Veach, which is one of the top pastors within LA with Justin Bieber. And I feel like we've kind of been familiar with Justin Bieber hanging out with these pastors, and these pastors are starting to use their influence and using their way of engaging in culture to engage with people that they may not have been able to before. Within this quote that Chad Veach gave on USA Today, he's talking that he personally doesn't see himself as an influencer, but he sees the ways that he's able to use fashion through Justin Bieber, through Jerry Lorenzo, who gives him these clothes to open the door of conversation with people that he may not have ever been able to before, which I think he really understands the concept of what it looks like to engage in that culture, even though it may be uncomfortable. Segueing into that with influencer relations of that, even though he claims that he is not an influencer, in a way he is. We see him, we see what impact he's having, what clothes he's wearing, and what that looks like within public relations. So I wanted to kind of take a segue into looking where PR is headed in the modern era. And within this, the normal aspect of PR that I think a lot of us think of is spin. A lot of it is buzzwords. A lot of it may even be deception. I don't know what your personal thought of public relations is, but it also is promoting a brand through press releases and features a lot of paper, which is completely starting to change now that we have and are coming into a social media era. With this, I think KCD Digital did an amazing job of quoting what the role of public relations is, which is to communicate a select message, and they continue to do that, but the channels have changed. And with that, they have to understand their place in the community and their role to be heightened so that there's so much more to monitor we have the internet at our hands. And with that, not only has what we need to do as public relation professionals have changed, but our clients' needs have changed within social media. Public relations, I think, used to be a one-way street, where we're just putting out press releases, we're putting out information, but it's now changing into a more two-way street as influencer marketing and influencer relations are starting to come into that. And I wanted to touch a little bit on that Forbes has actually claimed that the future is within the influencer, and within the next 5 years, influencer marketing will become a $10 billion industry. And that's something that really hit me, first of all, because it's Forbes, and I feel like they're very legit in all that they say. But I also put a couple charts here to really show, because I'm in Dr. Kim's research class, and she always says, if you want to make a point, prove it. So with that, it shows that within the past couple of years that through Instagram, their user growth has grown, same as the influencer market. And within that, 73% of marketers say that they have an allocated budget for influencer marketing through Tap Influence, and 71 consumers are more likely to make a purchase based on a social media reference. And I think we see that a lot when we try and explain public relations, that is not the brand itself coming to me and telling me, hey, you should buy this. That's my best friend coming to me and saying, like, hey, this really worked for me. You should buy this. That's exactly what public relations is doing, and that's exactly what the field is starting to do. To move on to that, I wanted to kind of give my glimpse into what public relations is to me. And through that, I became a public relations major because of that connection of creativity and because of the connection with people. And for me personally, it's an outlet in which my personal ethics that I've been learning here at Biola, my creativity and my communication skills are able to be expressed. But more importantly, I've been able to find that in the struggle for finding where my faith belongs within my future career. And that struggle is between two completely different interests that I'm able to put together, which is the most important thing for me. Within that, I wanted to go into how we're called as Christians, specifically me as a public relations professional, and that we're called into secular spaces. And this is something that was difficult for me to come into. When I tell people what I want to do, VIP relations, that I want to go into influencer marketing, a lot of the questions I got were, so you're going to do that for a nonprofit, right? Because I'm someone who is faith-based. And I have to explain to them, no, I actually want to work within the secularism of Hollywood. And a lot of that I've had to battle with a lot of people with their questions of, well, what is that going to do to your faith? How do you think that that's going to affect you in 10 years? And to be quite honest, I say I hope it won't, because if I really feel it's going to, I'm going to have to change my major in less than a semester, and I don't want to do that. But within that, this question came up of, how can I be a professional in Hollywood and stick close to my faith? And through that, I wanted to bring up this verse, which is 1 Corinthians 9:19 through 20. And it talks about engaging with those. In a specific point on verse 22, to the weak I became weak, that I might win the weak. I become all things to all people, that by all means I might save some. I do it for the sake of the gospel, that I may share with them in its blessings. And this really struck out to me due to the fact that as Christians, we're called to engage in culture. And through that, while that may be absolutely terrifying, we're not called to live in a comfortable bubble. We're called to go out to those people that we're not familiar with, and to show love and to show an embracing aspect through that. And that was terrifying to me going into that. But the more and more I got to work with these celebrities, the more and more I got to work with high up companies that, to be honest, are absolutely terrifying. The more and more I felt comfortable with stating my opinion and stating where I stand. And the more and more within that, I found that they were accepting of that. To kind of transition, within that, I wanted to end some things with what it looks like with influencing the influencer. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot with, we're personally surrounded by influencing trends. Nike, we're influenced by athletes, we're influenced by models, we're influenced by teachers, professors, so on and so forth. And through that, I wanted to look at using the tool of celebrity culture and what it thrives off and attempting to use it to reveal the Lord to others. And through this, before I end, I wanted to propose a quick question of what would it look like if, as believers, we ran to culture to engage within it. This doesn't necessarily mean that we have to agree within everything in culture, but the fact of the matter is that we can't really change something if we're not a part of it. And through that, I'm learning that, especially within Christian culture, we are afraid to do just this. We're afraid to be with those around us who are different and see differently from us, in fear that we're going to be rejected or we're going to be attacked. And through that, I realized that a lot of my friends are going into nonprofit PR, which is amazing, and I love that. And that I personally realize that I am not called to the missional field in a way that they are. But I do realize that I am called to intentionality, and through that, I have a calling that the Lord has put upon my heart, and that has turned missional through the niche of PR, which I couldn't be more grateful for. Within that, I know that I'm going to a field that could not oppose more of what I believe in than it already does. And within addressing the God complex that Hollywood has developed, personally, it's daunting. And personally, I don't know how I am going to put myself out there as a Christian, as well as stick to what I need to do professionally. But I know that through the engaging and through the teaching that Biola has given me, I'll be able to do it well. And kind of in the words that the Kanye West that I sung, that personally for me, that this is a God dream, that this is something that I found my niche in and that I know I'm supposed to be in. And not so much for me, but those in every professional aspect, I invite you to ask yourself this question next time that you go into a secular space, of what it would look like, not only for us, not only for within our personal aspects, but within the kingdom. What would it look like if we ran to culture to engage it? Thank you. I'm going to open up the time now for questions and comments.